My name's Ed Frawley. We have another question here that came into Leerburg through the Ask Cindy portal. And as always, you don't have to be a customer of Leerburg to send a question on training, on breeding, on behavioral problems, some medical problems. And we'll do what we can to answer questions. Cindy answers them every day, Cindy, my wife. Now, this is a good question about long lines and young puppies, because this person had an episode where the long line became a problem. I'll read it. We can comment on it as we go through it. He said, I have a long line which I've used with my now 7-month-old puppy. I clip it onto the back of his harness and let him run. This weekend, we took her to an off-leash dog beach. Not really a good idea for a 7-month-old puppy. We're not a fan of dog parks. We're not a fan of dog beaches where there's off-leash dogs running around. You never know where the very next person that's walking through that gate in the dog park, or the very first person that's going to show up at the park has a reactive or a very seriously aggression problem on their dog. And there's just, if you don't believe me, go on YouTube and search on dog fights in dog parks. They're not a good idea. So, the beach is a very big and wide one, so I was planning to avoid other dogs as much as possible and let her play in the water. However, there was an incident where an off-leash dog charged my dog, turned around and ran away, and my puppy spun around and ran after it. And she didn't have a hold of the end of the leash. It ran straight into the long line, getting the line wrapped around her legs and her neck. I released tension on the line to not hurt her and was able to call her back to untangle her. She was lucky. But with the other dog continuing to run around and through the long line, it very quickly became a situation where I was worried about my dog getting hurt, because it was all tangled in the line. So I'm thinking of hanging up the long line for good. I have always been careful not to leave excessive line out. I keep it wrapped in one hand and feed it with the other hand, but it quickly turned dangerous in this situation. And it could in a lot of situations. I always thought long lines were great. Have I been ignorant or just unlucky at this one time? Maybe not both, just the second one. Cindy now said, any leash or long line has the potential to get wrapped around a person's leg or tangled in their dog. I've had that when I first started training police service dogs a million years ago. I learned that the hard way. I didn't know a clue about what I was doing to train biting dogs. And I wanted to have this dog learn that it could run out 50 yards and do a bark and hold on a guy that was just standing there. So I took my 50-yard long line and I wrapped it in a big circle in front of me and had the dog laying down, and I had the guy out there with a sleeve on and a whip, and he cracked that whip, and I sent the dog in. Rather than just take off and run to the dog ran around me twice and then took off. So I see what was going on, and that line was feeding out like crazy, and it hit the end of the line as I stepped on it, and it cut my ankle. It cut the sock. I had a sock on, and it cut the sock right in half. And my leg looked like it needed stitches. So the answer to this is probably it's not a good idea to take your dog into dog parks or into locations where you're afraid that you're going to run into other dogs. Cindy walks her dogs at least once a day, mostly twice a day. And we have multiple places that we can take our dog where we live, where we know that we're going to be okay. We're not going to run into problem dogs. We don't take them to some places on the weekends. We don't take them to some places on holidays. We will take them early in the morning. And I think you really need to think about this when you do it. And if you're going to go to a place where there are other dogs, keep your dog away. Work on socializing your dog to focus on you with high-value food rewards, with treats, with whatever, when there are other dogs around. And if you see other dogs, turn around and go the other way. The only thing we would use a dog park for is we would go outside a dog park when we're training our dog, and we would try and work on reward-based training outside the dog park to get our dog to focus on us. And if we got too close and the dog wouldn't pay attention, we knew we were too close and we'd back it away. How far? Far enough away until the dog would pay attention to us. And then we would know where our starting point was. And then we could slowly, over time, shorten that distance with the hope that with time, we can be 10, 15 feet outside of a dog park, working our dog in obedience, and the dog is focused on us and not the dogs in the park. And that can take a couple years. That's not going to happen in a couple weeks, and it's certainly not even going to happen in a couple months. But that doesn't mean you can't go there and maybe 100 yards away, 200 yards away, and play with your dog, get your dog, keep the dog online, play with your dog, do a little bit of obedience, high value food reward, put the dog away when he's still all excited and want to play. Don't get him tired and then drag him away because he's so tired, or he's so darn tired. Put your dog away when he's still excited to be doing what you are doing. And then they'll look forward to going back to that spot the next time you want to. So again, if you have a question, send it to us. We'll answer it. If you have questions on how to raise your dog, train your dog, or breed dogs, go to Leerburg.com. We've got tons and tons of video on there. Some of them are free videos like YouTube. We sell online courses on all aspects of dog training. We have some very good ones. We've been doing it since 1982. Thank you for your time.